Hey everyone, I finished watching the next VR Troopers episode, A Dirty Trick. There's, at the same time, a lot to say about this episode, and not a whole lot to say about this episode. So I'll get into the summary first. The troopers are out handing out flyers for something at Tao Dojo, and later we find out Tao is getting an award from the city for public service or something. And at Tao Dojo, there's a magician performing an act for the small crowd there. Lex the Magician. Forget that name, it never comes up again. Whatever. So anyway, he performs some tricks, and he wants some assistance from the crowd. He calls up JB and Caitlin and pickpockets their virtualizers, and then runs off. So Ryan, JB, and Caitlin are chasing him, and then Scugs show up, and Ryan continues chasing uh, Lex, and then JB and Caitlin hold back and fight the Scugs. The magician transforms into a monster, whose name I don't remember. I think they just call him the Magician. He uses illusions to fight Ryan and then slips away. Suddenly, they're all transported into the battle grid, and then after we've eaten some time with that, they go to Hart's lab. Hart tells them about Grimlord's latest plan. Grimlord is planning on sending an army through virtual reality into the real world, while two of the three troopers don't have their virtualizers. So JB and Caitlin decide they're going to take the flying car and scan the area for the magician. Ryan goes on the ground. JB and Caitlin find the magician, tell Ryan. Ryan goes to fight him, who taunts him with the virtualizers a little bit. And eventually, Ryan defeats the magician, gets the virtualizers back, and then Grimlord sends out Ivar because there's still a few minutes to kill at the end of the episode, I guess. JB, by himself for some reason, knocks back Ivar, and then the troopers hang out at the lab afterwards. It's a bit of a nothing episode when you explain the plot. It's an extremely simple episode. It's basically Grimlord sent a monster, and then Ryan punches it until it's dead. Not a whole lot going on story-wise, but that's not really what stands out about this episode. What stands out really about this episode is the editing. More than any other VR Trooper episode, they really went above and beyond with the clever editing and editing tricks to make this entire episode feel not like any other VR Trooper episode and try to make it feel more like one natural, cohesive production. Although that does kind of fall apart at the end with Ivar's scene, but uh, aside from that, most of the episode works pretty well and it's pretty impressive. Uh, let's see. Whoops. Dropped my notes here. So anyway, there's a lot of, like, throughout the whole episode, there's a lot of little tiny moments here and there that they splice in and pepper in to make it feel like this is supposed to be the story that's going on. Let's see. When the magician transforms from his human appearance to his monster form, let's see, the human magician in the VR Trooper footage swings a cape in front of his face, and then in the middle of that cape swing, they cut to, in Metalder, the monster does that. So it makes it look like the human is turning into the monster. And they're also able to match the backgrounds pretty well. That's another thing that works with this. And then also they're on top of a building, and that helps because they actually go to that location. Ryan is chasing the monster jumps up on top of a building, and then Ryan pursues him to the top of the building, and that's where he transforms. It's, the editing is really good there. Let's see, and then, let's see. Oh yeah, the second time that Ryan encounters the magician monster doesn't have his cape and hat anymore, and they're able to kind of naturally play with that and turn it into like smack talk between Ryan and the monster to explain why the monster doesn't have the same like appearance as before. Ryan sees him, "Hey, where's your hat? I was looking forward to knocking it off." And then the monster is like, "I took it to the cleaners, which is what I'm going to do to you." And it's dialogue that, yeah, it's cheesy and it is a tiny bit forced, but it fits perfectly for VR Troopers. It's the kind of dialogue you'd expect. Except here it actually does tie in a little bit with stuff going on. And let's see. Oops, my notes jumped. Oh yeah, one of the really cool scenes, let's see. Because the plot of the VR Troopers episode is the magician stole the virtualizers. They add a scene where the monster holds his hand out and he's holding the virtualizers, and that's an American added scene. And the monster, fortunately for the American crew, had a very simple design, at least his hands, are just black gloves. So they're able to, like, just put black gloves on somebody, have them holding the virtualizers, and then cut to a scene from Metalder where the monster, like, raises his hand and forms a fist. So it looks like he's holding them out, and then he, like, snatches them away so Ryan can't get them. It's a really clever way around to fit these two plots. And it kind of plays with my mind, because I know the virtualizers aren't in Metalder. I'm pretty sure they're from Spielbahn, or they were just an original thing made for VR Troopers, because I don't remember what exactly was going on in Spielbahn. Anyway, let's see. The other scene that stands out as a really impressive editing thing, in Metalder, let's see, the bad guy's defeated. When he's knocked off a cliff, he rolls down the cliff and then explodes, and then, like, the camera pans up a little bit, and then or at least I think it pans up. Now I can't remember. Maybe it's the American footage panning up a cliff, and it shows Ryan standing at the foot of the cliff, and then JB and Caitlin run over. It's really seamless, and it really helps to, like, push the idea that, yes, all this is happening, like, in this world. So then, see, Ryan gives them back the virtualizers, then the stupid Ivar scene happens, which kind of it's really weird. I feel like this episode... One of the weird things here, this episode has almost no comic relief stuff until the end. And I think instead of the Ivar stuff, they could have had a funny scene with Percy or something. The mayor and his wife do show up at the beginning, but they don't really do anything funny. They're just there in the background. Let's see. After Ivar is defeated... Let's see. The troopers go to Hart's lab, where they play into a little bit the magician theme of the episode, the magic trick theme, and Ryan is showing some magic tricks he knows, and then Jeb is like, hey, I know a magic trick, and he's like, give me that hamburger you're holding, JB, and so then he puts the hamburger down, he's like, cool, now close your eyes, and so then they close their eyes knowing in advance, I guess, that Jeb's going to eat the hamburger. The hamburger's disappeared, or whatever. It's a really dumb joke, but it kind of works because the troopers know it's coming, I guess. I don't know, it's really weird, and I feel like the whole magic trick thing might have worked a little better if they went to the newspaper and Percy was there, and Percy's like, hey, I know a magic trick, and then, like, does something, and then his pants fall down, or something slapstick stupid happens. I don't know. It's just a weird thing. I feel like they could have gotten more mileage, like, comic relief-wise, out of this concept, more than just Jeb saying, hey, close your eyes, I'm going to make this hamburger disappear. I wonder if that's healthy for a dog to be eating hamburgers, whatever. Anyway, not too interesting of an episode story-wise, but if you're interested in, like, analyzing how a show is adapted, like, from the Japanese series, the way Saban would do back in the 90s, this episode is really fascinating, just seeing all the little tricks they use to convince the audience that, yes, all this is the same show. It doesn't quite work, because JB and Caitlin are almost completely absent, and then the crap with Ivar at the end. Oh, and the battle grid! They all go to the battle grid at the same time, and it doesn't really serve any purpose. There's no monster in the battle grid, it's just meant to kill some time. And again, I think it would have worked better if they had some comic relief with Percy and Woody, maybe, instead of the fight footage. I don't know, I'm weird. I like the comic relief stuff a little better than the fight footage filler, because that's what it is. It's filler to fill up time until the end of the episode. So anyway, that's it for this one. I hope you enjoyed it. See ya.